Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are opening a dossier that feels fundamentally different from our usual fare.
Yeah, it really does.
We're looking at a stack of sources that center on the opening 11 chapters of Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. But if you're expecting, the usual rhythm of battlefield glory and high-octane magic duels right out of the gate, you really need to recalibrate.
Completely. This isn't a story about the war as it's happening. It's a story about the debris the war leaves behind. We are shifting our lens away from the front lines of the North to a completely new continent, a new political landscape, and a protagonist who is, for lack of a better term, shattered.
We're talking about Chaol Westfall.
Yeah.
And I think to really get the gravity of these documents, we have to start with a mission. On paper, it's simple. Go to the southern continent, get healed, and convince the Kagan to send his armies to save the world. But the reality is that we are looking at a man who was defined entirely by his physicality, the captain of the guard, the shield, the brute strength of a Darlin, who is now paralyzed from the waist down.
It's a total inversion of his identity. It's a complete flip. And the text doesn't shy away from the psychological toll of that. We aren't just reading about a man in a wheelchair. We're reading about a man who views that chair as a coffin.
Yeah, a prison.
A prison, exactly. He's been sent to Antica, the capital of the mighty southern continent, essentially as a beggar. He has no army, no authority, and in his own mind, absolutely no dignity left.
So let's establish the setting first, because the shift... It's jarring.
It is.
We are leaving the gloom, the stone castles, the cold forests of the north. We are landing in Antica, and the sensory details provided here are just overwhelming.
It's a sensory assault, really. The source text describes the heat immediately. It's dry, it's unrelenting, a desert heat that just bakes the stone. But it's not a wasteland. I mean, not at all. It's a metropolis.
Right.
You have these massive green marble floors, red pillars that are as thick as trees, and everywhere you look, there's just wealth, unimaginable wealth.
The visuals are striking. The great library, the Torah Sesame rising like a god over the city. But I was really struck by the soundscape described in these chapters.
Oh, for sure.
Antica is loud. It's full of wind chimes, merchants, the bustle of a golden age empire.
Yeah.
But for Chaol, there's only one sound that matters.
The wheels.
The wheels.
Yeah.
The text returns to this motif constantly, the clack, clack, clack of his chair on the marble.
It's a brilliant piece of writing because it weaponizes sound. I mean, for Chaol, that rhythm is a constant nagging reminder of his new limitation. In the North, his sound was the heavy tread of boots, authoritative, grounded, powerful.
No, sound of command.
Exactly. Here, the clattering wheels make him feel like cargo. He feels like he's being delivered, not arriving. He hates that sound because it announces his quote-unquote weakness before he even enters a room.
And that ties directly into his internal monologue. He calls himself the Lord of Nothing.
Or Lord of Oath Breakers. I mean, that's the crux of his trauma. It's not just the injury, it's the context of the injury. He believes he failed his king, Dorian. He believes he failed his men. So when he rolls into this palace of warriors, he isn't just feeling physical pain. He's feeling this profound sense of fraudulent existence.
A fraud, yeah.
He's wearing the fine clothes of a diplomat, but inside, he feels like a broken tool that should have been discarded.
And you have to contrast that with his companion, Nezran Falik. For Chaol, Antica is this alien, hostile environment. But for Nezran, this is, well, it's complicated.
It's a homecoming for a home she never knew. That's the best way I can put it. Nezran is a Darlanian born, but her family is Antican. In Adarlan, she was always the outsider, the minority, the one who didn't quite fit the mold of the northern court.
Right, she was never fully accepted.
Never. But here, she steps off the ship and sees faces that mirror her own for the first time in her life.
The text mentions the smells triggering memories for her. Paprika, cumin, ginger. These are the scents of her father's bakery, of her heritage.
Right, so she has this visceral, positive reaction to the environment. She thinks, these are my people. But there's a massive dissonance there.
Because of what she's wearing.
Exactly. She's wearing the unicorn of Idarlan, the empire that many in the South view as a colonizing monster. So she's walking this incredibly tight rope. She feels a pull to this culture, but she serves the king who represents its antithesis. She is a woman between two worlds, whereas Chaol feels like he belongs to no world at all.
Okay, so they arrive at the Kagan's palace to make their case. And this is where the political thriller aspect of this deep dive really kicks in. We need to talk about the Kagan. Urus.
He is described as a living god, and the whole setting reinforces that. He sits on the ivory throne, which is made from the tusks of elephants.
Which is just What a statement.
It's a brutal display of power, and he is not the welcoming, benevolent grandfather figure one might hope for, not in the slightest.
The confrontation in the throne room is painful to read. It's so awkward. Chaol and Nesryn present these chests of gold and jewels gifts from Aelin and Dorian, and the Kagan's reaction is just ice cold.
Cold jewels, that's what he calls them. It's a devastating dismissal.
It's such a power move. He's basically saying, my empire is drowning in gold, your money means nothing to me. But there's a deeper rejection there, isn't there?
Absolutely. It's a moral rejection. He asks, very pragmatically, why he should spend the blood of his people to save a kingdom that has been nothing but a plague on the world. I mean, Adarlan has a history of conquest.
And from his perspective, he's right.
He is. He points out that Adarlan is cleaved in two and Terrasen is destitute. He's looking at the balance sheet of war, and joining Aelin looks like a terrible investment.
He also knows who Aelin is. He knows she was an assassin.
Which is a PR nightmare for Chaol. We know Aelin as the savior, the lost queen, but the rest of the world knows her as Selena Sardothian, the king's champion, the butcher. The Kagan views her as an unstable element, a liability. Why ally with a chaotic assassin when you can just stay safe behind your mountains?
It's a solid point. But the Kagan isn't the only player on the board. We're introduced to his children, and this is where the Game of Thrones comparison feels really apt. The succession system in the southern continent is fascinatingly ruthless.
It is. Unlike the North, where, the eldest male inherits by default, the Kaganate is a meritocracy. Or maybe a survivalocracy is a better word.
A Shark Tank related.
A total Shark Tank. The Kagan chooses his heir from any of his children, male or female.
It must create so much tension.
Oh, it incentivizes excellence, but it also incentivizes paranoia and rivalry. The siblings are constantly maneuvering, trying to prove they're the strongest or the smartest. We meet 5 of them, and each represents a different facet of power.
Let's break them down because they're crucial. First up, Prince Argan.
The eldest. He's called the Prince of Spies. He is the intellectual heavyweight, but he's also deeply cynical. He deals in information. He's the one who reveals he knows everything about Chaol and Nesryn before they even open their mouths.
He's the political barrier.
He is. He sees no profit in the war, so he actively blocks Cal at every turn. He's all about pragmatism and power, not sentiment.
Okay, then we have Sartaq.
The Winged Prince. A complete contrast. He commands the Rukin, the aerial cavalry who ride the Ruks, those massive legendary birds. Sartaq is the counterpoint to Argun. Where Argun is shadows and secrets, Sartaq is the sky and honor.
And he seems to be the only one who gives Nesryn the time of day.
Yeah, he looks at her with genuine respect rather than suspicion. He sees a fellow warrior. That's a connection that forms pretty quickly.
Then there's Kashin.
The warrior, commander of the foot soldiers. He's blunt, he's emotional, and he is clearly struggling. While the court is officially in mourning, we see the white mourning banners everywhere. Kashin is the one who refuses to accept the official story.
The story being that his sister, Tumalun, committed suicide.
Right. Tumalun died 3 weeks ago. It was ruled a suicide. She fell from a tower. But Kashin is adamant. He believes she was murdered. And this grief makes him volatile and unpredictable.
Plus, he's got a thing for Yrene Towers.
He is openly infatuated with the healer we're about to discuss, Yrene Towers, which adds this whole other layer of romantic tension and, frankly, complication to his actions.
Okay, who's next?
Hussar.
The princess.
Uh.
She's sharp-tongued, dangerous, and seems to be deeply amused by all the chaos. She's in a relationship with a woman named Renia. Hussar feels like the social engineer of the group. She watches the plays being made and comments on them with this wicked cutting humor.
You don't want to get on her bad side.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And finally, there's Duva, who is pregnant and seems to be the quietest of the bunch.
For now, at least.
For now. She represents the future of the line, but in these early chapters, she's mostly background. So Chaol is navigating this minefield, this family of vipers, trying to find an ally, when Argan decides to just drop a bomb in the middle of the court. The news about Rifthold.
This is the moment the mission shifts from urgent to desperate. Argan, with that sneer of his, reveals that Rifthold has fallen to the witches, the Iron Teeth.
And the description implies it was a massacre.
It does. We hear that the city was sacked, Dorian is missing, the glass castle is shattered. For Chaol, this is his worst nightmare realized. He left his king to save him, and in his absence, the king might have fallen. The guilt must be just crushing.
And for Nesryn, her family was in Rifthold.
The psychological impact on her is just devastating. The text describes her going numb. She essentially shuts down. Imagine it, you're in the land of your ancestors, smelling the spices of your father's bakery, while simultaneously hearing that your father might be dead in the rubble of your childhood home.
It makes their whole mission seem impossible. It raises the stakes of the ask. They aren't asking for reinforcements for a stalemate anymore.
No, they are asking the Kagan to liberate a conquered city. It makes their bargaining position even weaker than it already was.
And it isolates them further. They're bearers of doom.
Exactly. No one in a court celebrating a golden age wants to listen to the people whose home is burning down. It smells like failure.
So, amidst this political disaster, we have a second track of the story, the healing. We need to introduce Yrene Towers.
Yrene is the heartbeat of this entire deep dive. If Chaol is the broken body, Yrene is the reluctant spirit. We first met her briefly in a previous novella, but here she is fully realized. She is a healer at the Torres Esme, the most prestigious medical institution in the world.
But she carries a heavy, heavy burden of her own trauma.
She does. She is from Fenharrow, a kingdom that was ravaged by Ardarlan. Her backstory is horrific. She watched her mother, who was also a healer, be burned alive by Ardarlanian soldiers because they suspected her of having magic.
The text mentions the smell of ash and burning flesh, that it haunts her.
It's a sensory memory that defines her entire worldview. To Yrene, Ardarlan isn't a place on a map. It's the monster that took her mother. It's the soldiers who laughed while a woman screamed.
And yet, there's a paradox there, isn't there? She was saved by an Ardarlanian.
The mysterious benefactor. Years ago, a stranger saved Yrene from thugs, taught her self-defense, and gave her the gold to come to Antica. And the note she keeps says, "The world needs more healers."
And we know this was Selena Serdothian Aelin.
Exactly. So Yrene hates Ardarlan with every fiber of her being, but she owes her life and her career to its rightful queen. She just doesn't know it yet.
So Yrene is thriving at the Torre. She's top of her class when the healer on high, Hafiza, summons her.
Hafiza is the matriarch of the tower. She's wise, formidable, the ultimate authority. She assigns Yrene to a new patient, the Lord Westfall from Ardarlan.
And Yrene's reaction is just immediate refusal.
It's visceral. She says, "I will not heal him." She doesn't see a patient. She sees a captain of the Ardarlanian Guard. In her mind, he is the man who gave the orders to the men who burned her mother. He's the symbol of everything she lost.
This brings up a really fascinating ethical conflict. We often think of healers or doctors as these neutral parties, do no harm. But is Yrene justified in refusing? Can you blame her?
It's the classic dilemma. Does a monster deserve mercy? Hafiza argues yes. She tells Yrene this parable about healing a murderer so he could face justice properly. Her point is that a healer's duty is to life, regardless of the vessel. If Yrene refuses based on hatred, she violates the sanctity of her gift. She fails the test of the Torre.
So Yrene is essentially guilt-tripped into taking the case. She goes to the palace. And this leads us to part 3, the collision. The first meeting between Chaol and Yrene is tense.
Tense is putting it mildly. It's hostile, and it's wonderfully written because both characters are operating from a place of intense defensiveness. Chaol is humiliated to be there. Yrene is furious to be there. There is no goodwill in that room.
Let's talk about the assessment. Yrene starts asking questions. And they are not polite questions.
Oh, no. She goes straight for the jugular, or rather, the bladder and the bowels. She asks him if he has control over his functions. She asks about his sexual capability.
It's just brutal. So humiliating for him.
It strips him of the last shreds of his dignity. Remember, Chaol is a man of his time. He prides himself on strength and virility. Having this young woman clinically ask if his manhood works is excruciating for him.
And then she writes the note.
The note. Oh, the note. Chaol snaps at her, refusing to answer, and she just calmly writes "no" on her pad.
And she underlines it.
And underlines it. That's the part that gets me.
The underlining is such a specific clinical act of aggression. It's so dismissive.
It establishes power. She is saying, "You are not a lord here. You are a broken body, and I am the expert." It completely balances the playing field. He might be a high-ranking official, but in this room, she holds all the cards.
But then she touches him. She begins the physical examination of his spine. And this is where the genre just completely shifts.
Yes. Up until this moment, we are in a medical drama. A very tense one, but still. But when Yrene lays her hands on the injury, the text describes a reaction that is purely supernatural.
She feels a recoil.
She describes it as cold, oily, unworldly wrongness. Her magic, which is pure light and life, it's called Silba's magic, is physically repulsed by the wound. It's not just a shattered vertebra. There's a presence there.
This is such a critical distinction for the listener. Cal isn't just paralyzed by physical trauma. He is being suppressed by a remnant of dark magic.
Exactly. The vowed power that struck him in the previous book didn't just break the bone, it infected the area. It's sitting there, festering. Yrene describes it as something that awakes when she touches it. It's sentient, or at least semi-sentient.
Which explains why no regular medicine has worked.
Right, you can't fix a demon-inflicted wound with a splint and some bed rest.
So despite this horror and her own reservations, Yrene returns the next day. She starts the treatment, which involves massage and magic, and during this session, the walls, they finally start to come down.
The massage scene is pivotal. It forces a kind of physical intimacy, which then leads to emotional intimacy. Yrene, realizing this is magical, starts asking the right questions. What did this to you? Not how did this happen, but what?
And Chaol, who has been stonewalling everyone, finally cracks.
I think he cracks because she's the first person to acknowledge the wrongness of the wound. Everyone else just sees paralysis. Yrene sees the darkness, so he admits it. He says the words out loud, Valg, demons.
And he admits his guilt.
This monologue is just heartbreaking. He tells her, I served a monster. He talks about the old king. He admits that he compromised his morals to protect Dorian. And in the end, everything fell apart anyway. And then he says the line, there is no one in Aralea who loathes me more than I do myself.
That self-loathing is the key to his paralysis, isn't it? It's like an anchor.
It's the psychosomatic anchor. The dark magic is latching onto his guilt, his despair. As long as he hates himself, the darkness has a foothold.
And Yrene sees this. And for the first time, she stops seeing an Adarlanian soldier, and she sees a human being in immense pain.
That's the turning point. She realizes he isn't the monster. He's a victim of the monster, just like she was. It changes her motivation from, obligation to Hafisa to a real determination to save this man.
So she needs answers. She needs to understand what she's up against. She decides to hit the books.
We move to part 4. The darkness in the library.
The great library of Antica. The setting here is it's atmospheric gold. It's night, there's a summer storm raging outside, thunder rattling the windows, flashes of lightning illuminating the stacks.
And the bass cats. We have to talk about the cats.
We have to mention the cats. They are these semi-magical feline guardians of the library. There are, 36 of them? And they usually ignore people, but Yrene notices they are agitated, they're pacing. That's our first clue that something is wrong.
Yrene finds a specific text, the Song of Beginning.
This is the lore dump we've been waiting for. This book is ancient. It details the history of the Valg. It actually names the Vald kings, Orcus, Mantex, and Erawan.
We've heard of Erawan, of course. He's the current big bad. But seeing them categorized like this confirms a hierarchy, a whole demon royalty. And the illustrations are terrifying. They depict the Valg infesting hosts.
Can you describe that imagery? It's pretty chilling.
The text describes black mist pouring into the mouths of humans, eyes turning pure obsidian black. It confirms that the Valg don't just conquer, they hollow out. They wear people-like suits.
And it mentions the gate.
The wired gate. The text implies that the Valg came from another world through a gate atop a dark peak. This connects everything back to the wired keys and the overall plot of the series. Yrene is literally holding the manual to the enemy's playbook.
But then the atmosphere shifts from, scholarly research to a full-on slasher film. She hears a click.
A tongue clicking in the darkness. The lanterns go out. And Yrene realizes she is not alone.
And she's being hunted.
This sequence is great because it highlights Yrene's street smarts. She's not a warrior, but she is a survivor. She realizes someone is stalking her through the stacks. And she uses this clever trick. She starts talking loudly to an imaginary companion, pretending someone is just around the corner to make the stalker hesitate.
Smart. It buys her a few seconds.
Exactly. She runs. She makes it to the safety of the main hall, but on her way, she stumbles over something in the dark.
A body.
A dead healer.
And not just dead, desiccated. The description is gruesome. The body is a husk. It's been drained of all fluid and life.
We've seen this before. This is how the Valg feed.
Exactly. It confirms that the Valg here in Antica, inside the sanctuary of the Taurus Esme. But there's a detail about the victim that just chills the blood.
She looked like Yrene.
She looked exactly like Yrene. Same height, same build, same hair color.
So the implication is that the killer made a mistake in the dark.
They were hunting Yrene Towers. They killed her doppelganger.
Why Yrene? Because of Chaol.
Probably. Or because of what she might find in those books. If the Valg are infiltrating the Cognate, the last thing they need is a brilliant healer figuring out how to cure their infections or expose their presence.
This validates Prince Kashin's paranoia, doesn't it?
Completely. Kashin said his sister was murdered. If a Valg agent is loose in the Palace and Torre complex, then a suicide becomes very, very suspicious. The enemy is already inside the gates.
Let's deepen the analysis here for a second. I want to talk about the womb scene, which happens shortly after this attack. Yrene retreats to the baths beneath the Torre.
The womb of Silba. It's this subterranean cavern filled with hot springs and echoing with the sound of bells. It's supposed to be the safest, most sacred place on Earth for healers.
Yrene is floating in the water, trying to cleanse herself of the fear and the grime of what she found, but she can't shake the memory of the darkness in Chaol's spine.
And here's where it gets really metaphysical. She feels the darkness beckoning her.
It calls to her.
Yes. It challenges her. The phrase she hears, or maybe just feels, is, "You must enter where you fear to tread."
That is so ominous.
It suggests that to heal Chaol, she can't just apply magic from the outside like a salve. She has to project her spirit into the wound. She has to enter the darkness itself.
It's a descent into the underworld.
Precisely. It's a hero's journey in microcosm. She has to face the void to bring back the light. And she's terrified because she knows that void is hungry. If she goes in, she might not come out intact.
While Yrene is grappling with this huge spiritual challenge, Nesryn is dealing with her own shift. We touched on her arrival, but her arc in these chapters is really about divergence. She's drifting away from Chaol.
It's a painful but, necessary separation. Chaol is so consumed by his recovery and his failing politics. He's pushing Nesryn away, partly out of shame. He doesn't want her to see him weak, and partly because he feels he can't offer her anything.
And nature abhors a vacuum. Enter Prince Sartaq.
Right. Sartaq offers Nesryn everything Chaol can't in that moment. He offers her flight. He takes her up on his rook, Kadara.
And that flight scene is beautiful. It's freedom.
For a woman who has been constrained by duty and the heavy, suffocating atmosphere of the court, being up in the sky is intoxicating. Sartaq validates her. He treats her as a warrior and an equal, not as a subordinate or nursemaid.
It's not just a romance brewing either. It's an alliance. Nesryn realizes that if the Kagan won't listen, maybe the heir to the Air Force will.
She's pivoting the diplomatic strategy.
Yeah, she is. Chaol is hitting a brick wall with the father. Nesryn is opening a door with the son. It shows her agency. She's not just waiting for Chaol to fix things. She's making her own moves.
I want to circle back to the cover-up. After the library attack, Yrene and Chaol make a decision that I found incredibly risky. They decide not to tell the Kagan or the guards about the murder or the Valg.
It is risky. They decide to disguise Yrene's frequent visits as treatment for a rash, rather than admitting they are hunting a demon.
A rash, the captain of the guard, reduced to a rash, the indignity.
It's a cover story that relies on humiliation to work, which is kind of clever. No one asks follow-up questions about a rash, but the strategic reason is sound. They don't know who the spy is.
Right. If they announce we found a Valg victim, the spy knows they know.
And the spy goes underground or strikes again instantly. By keeping it quiet, they hope to lure the enemy into a false sense of security, or at least buy themselves enough time to figure out who to trust.
Which brings us to the whodunit aspect. We have this golden court, ostensibly safe, but there's rot festering within it. Who are the suspects?
The text throws suspicion everywhere. Is it Argun, the cynical spy master? It would be easy for him to hide things. Is it Hazar, the chaotic princess who seems to enjoy discord? Or is it someone close to the Kargan, a vizier or an advisor we haven't really focused on yet?
The terrifying part is the infestation mechanic we learned about in the book. The spy might not be a traitor. They might be a puppet. It could be someone the main characters like and trust.
That's the true horror of the Valg. It destroys trust. Paranoia becomes the only logical survival mechanism.
So let's try to synthesize all this. We are 11 chapters in. We have a paralyzed hero, a traumatized healer, a murdered doppelganger, and a royal family playing 40 chess while the world burns. What is the core theme holding this broken things narrative together?
I think the theme is reconstruction. Everyone is trying to rebuild something. Chaol is trying to rebuild his body and his honor. Yrene is trying to rebuild her trust in humanity after her trauma. Nesryn is rebuilding her identity as a woman of 2 continents.
And the Khaganate itself.
It's trying to maintain this image of perfection, the Golden Empire, while cracks are forming in the foundation. The death of Tumalun, the attack in the library, these are stress fractures. The theme is that you can't rebuild on a rotten foundation. You have to expose the rot first.
Which means Chaol has to expose his own rot, his guilt.
Yeah.
And Yrene has to expose the Valg rot in the palace.
Exactly. Healing is painful. It sometimes requires breaking the bone again to set it right. That's what this book is doing to these characters, is breaking them down completely so they can be forged into something stronger.
It redefines strength, doesn't it? In the previous books, strength was swordplay. It was magic fire. Here, strength is enduring a massage that feels like torture. Strength is walking into a dark library when you're terrified.
It's resilience. It's the strength of the survivor, not the conqueror.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final provocation. We know the enemy is in the tower. We know they are watching.
The shadows have eyes.
If the Valg have infiltrated the Torres Sesme, the one place in the world dedicated to healing, the place that is supposed to be the absolute antithesis of their darkness, what does that say about the safety of the rest of the world?
It says that there are no sanctuaries left. The war isn't coming to Antica. It's already there. It's just been silent.
And silence is often more dangerous than the roar of battle.
Especially when that silence is accompanied by the clicking of a tongue in the dark.
On that chilling note, we're going to close the dossier for today. We've only scratched the surface of Tower of Dawn, but the path forward is clear. Chaol and Yrene are on a collision course with destiny, and the clock is ticking.
Rifthold has fallen. The South is compromised. The only hope lies in a broken man and a healer who hates him.
Classic odds for a fantasy epic. Thank you for diving deep with us. Keep reading, keep questioning, and maybe watch it back in the library.
And never, ever underestimate the power of a healer.
Until next time.